Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. And Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You know, every once in a while we have public service announcements that we make here on the Marvel Movie Minute.
Sure.
This will be
to help the people.
This will be one of those. I would just like to note to everyone that according to the American Automobile Association, more than 200,000 crashes happened between 2011 and 2014 as a result of debris on U.S. roadways. Ooh. These crashes led to over 500 deaths and 39,000 injuries. There's nothing funny about that. That's serious, okay? 2/3 of these accidents were the result of improper maintenance and unsecured loads. Listen, everybody, you're not going to hold the mattress on the top of your car while you're driving down the road. Here's what you need to do. Get some rope, get some bungee cords, maybe some cargo netting. Hey, maybe employ a friend. But here's the other thing. Rent a bigger Audi, you billionaire goofball. What are you doing? All this information courtesy of autosimple.com. Please just be safe. When you go to IKEA, figure it out in ahead of time. U-Haul can rent a $20 pickup or a box truck for the day. And that's not a paid advertisement for U-Haul or any other of the truck rental places.
Although we're not above that sort of thing.
Oh, but hey, if you want to send us the truck, it's P.O. Box. Anyway, never mind. That's all I got. That's all I got because this minute has the second most annoying thing to me in this movie. Anyway, that's it.
Oh, interesting. Rob, I'm sorry I'm going to have to be on Tony's side in this because not only have I done something like this, well, I've done this exact thing.
Well, we have all done this.
So when I was living in Atlanta for a while, I was working while I was doing a internship. Internships don't pay, so I had to take a retail job. So I worked at a place called Zany Brainy. So Zany Brainy was an educational toy store. So it was started by a guy who wanted to buy educational toys for his niece and found those stores did not exist. He couldn't find one. So he made one. So he created a whole thing, and it became a big thing. So this was in the late 90s. So I joined on board. And the idea was that everything had to have an educational purpose. Like, they weren't just going to sell whatever random Barbie nonsense, right. thing. Like my daughter now is just obsessed with all these random things where, like, you just get a packet and open it up, and it's a random piece of plastic. Is it going to be a gold one or a silver one? Or
right.
This is, I know I'm sounding like the get off my lawn, but I should.
No, it's true.
The random nature of it just drives me crazy. But while I was working there, the big thing that they made a strategic alliance with was Miffy. Do you know what Miffy is?
Miffy?
No. Miffy is a Dutch bunny. So Miffy is actually a very famous cartoon character. I mean, like from a children's book that started out in the Netherlands and then sort of went wide and became super popular. So around the world, there are Miffy. Like Japan in particular loves Miffy. Miffy is a very simple design. It's basically like if you just draw like the cartooniest rabbit that you can, and then 2 dots for eyes, and then an X for the mouth. That's Miffy. It's a really simple. So it appeals to preschooler, kindergarten, and that kind of thing. So they had just made the strategic alliance, and so Miffy was the entire section of the store was just Miffy world. It was just Miffy everywhere, which delighted us no end because Miffy is the most expressionless of animals. It's like happy, sad, angry, all just the X, like the X for the mouth. So this obviously did not go extremely well. So in the course of a couple months, the Miffy section got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually was totally dismantled. But when they were fully in love with the Miffy design, and this is nothing against the character, the character's doing fine. Like, it's just basically that strategic alliance did not benefit either party very well. But in the process, there was a 6-foot wooden sign of Miffy, which had the head of the rabbit and then Miffy in big bold letters that was mounted to the top of the shelves. And so when they were going to do it, they were just going to throw it out. I said, "Oh, you're just throwing that out?" And they're like, "Well, yeah." And I'm like, "Well, with just a couple of sawhorses, that could be a really nice desk," because it was 6 feet long and 3 feet deep, and I was poor because I was working retail while doing an internship. I could barely make rent. I'm like, I could have a nice desk from this. And so I had to get it home, and I had no money and a really crappy car. So it just so happened that I had gotten a hand-me-down car, which was a Bonneville, which had a sunroof. So that night, after my shift was over, I opened up the sunroof, stuck that thing in there, and so like I was driving down the road with like 4 feet of Miffy, like above my, like the giant Miffy was like above my head as I was driving home, and then just praying it wouldn't just like whoosh go shooting right out the top and do it. So I drove home, and I used that desk for a good year and a half. And basically, the only reason I didn't take it with me is because I couldn't afford to put it in the car when I was moving away.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you. Number one, and listen, you're still listening, and you're like, when are you going to get to the show? Yeah. We're going to get to the show. There isn't much to this. These aren't much to this moment right now because it's part of a bigger moment. But anyway, one, when you put Miffy in the car,
yes,
was Miffy heads up or bottoms up?
Well, it was it was just Miffy's head, like was just the thing, and then it said Miffy, so like basically it was there. So when I stuck out, because that part was stuck out more because ears, it has the ears that were sticking out that were carved out above it. That was, I couldn't fit that inside.
Oh, okay, so good.
So it was sort of like Miffy was sideways essentially above my head.
I just had this idea
driving down the road, and it was a highway. I mean, I had to drive on the highway because I was in Atlanta, so I had to drive the perimeter because I worked in North Cobb, and I had drove all the way back to to Atlanta proper.
Oh, okay. No. All right, because I just had this beautiful image of like you driving down the road and seeing like it looks like a big rabbit that's diving into your car, which I think is funny. Okay,
it's like it's Superman just sideways.
So my second question is,
yes,
because I have done similar things in my life. At one point, did you realize, because it should have happened pretty quickly once you're on the highway, this may have been a very bad idea?
Oh, yeah. So as soon as I got above, because the store was in, it was deep in the suburbs. So like very, very high-end area. So, and Atlanta, for those of you who don't know, is very hilly. So you're going up and down, and so you go, and so then when I got above 40, and that sign started shaking in the thing next to me, and the highway was 75. It was a full highway, 5-lane highway.
Oh no!
And I'm driving with my hand in and the Bonneville's a big car, so it takes a lot to hold it. So I had one hand over it, like basically trying to make sure it didn't shoot out the top. Or I thought either that, or I thought this is going to shear right off. It's just going to crack in half because the wind pushing it against the car. Which
debris.
But now I came home and my roommate was like, "What did you do?"
The closest I came to that, I think I bought a 2 or 3 drawer filing cabinet in the MG.
Oh, wow.
And I literally had to put the top down, and I had to put it in the passenger seat and
strap it
in. Well, no, it's a filing cabinet. But I'm just going to say, though, no, I mean, like, please, don't, like, if you're older and listening and you have some wisdom of years, don't ever try to do any of these things. Because
don't. Because it's the folly of youth. I was 20 nothing. And
so, I mean,
when I see this thing, it makes me sad. It makes me go like, hey, I'm just like Tony Stark.
Well, because in this minute, finally, what happens here? What minute are we on? What is going on?
We're here at minute 82 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, director Mr. Jon Favreau. And we pick up where we left off, which is Tony in what used to be his office, which is now Pepper's office. And he is looking very closely at the model, so much so that he even does the pirate. I have no idea what that was about. Like, he wanted to zoom in, so he it makes a circle with his hand and like zooms in to like look at it from a different angle or something. I don't know.
Perspective,
He sees something. He sees something, Rob. There's something that, and it's not like the key to the future is there, but he doesn't know exactly what it is.
Jeez.
And so then I assume that we're meant to think that he did this by himself.
That
he didn't get like some intern to come and do this. So like he had to take. So that means he had to take like 4 trips, right? Because it's in 4 pieces.
It's in 4 pieces. So it cuts right to a shot of him in the convertible Audi, and he's got the model, and it's clearly him. It does look like Robert Downey Jr. driving the car, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about.
Yep.
And then it's the whole model broken apart into 4 really long pieces. They probably look like they're 6 foot by 2 foot or so. And they're just stacked on each other in the passenger seat, and he's cruising down the highway. Mm-hmm. There's so many issues with this. First of all, it's dangerous. 2, I don't think this would be possible at the speed he's going, because there's no way these things. I mean, no, there's more of them.
there's pieces, and we've seen that these pieces come off.
But these pieces come off. But wait, we also know there's more of it sticking out of the car that's in the car.
Yes.
Physics.
Yes. Yeah, the footwell is not that deep.
No, that doesn't work. And let me just tell you something. As you're seeing this, this is a model that's what, 30, 35 years old?
Yeah.
These models are made out of cardboard and balsa wood. Do you want to know what happens to the 3 layers under that first layer? Crunched.
And so, interestingly, this was actually not shot by Jon Favreau.
No.
I'm serious. Like this whole thing was like, well, we need to figure out how people are going to wonder how he got the model from the office there. And so, Louis D'Esposito actually shot these with second unit. Louis D'Esposito, if you don't know, is probably the second most powerful man at Marvel. He has been the producer since Iron Man 1, and now is basically the producer underneath Kevin Feige, like running his Marvel Studios. But at the time, he was just, another producer. So he went out with a camera crew and shot these things of like the pieces of the model shoved into the car and driving.
Is that? Wait! I got to tell you now. I tried to look for this. They really did this.
They really did this. Yeah.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah. So that's not CG. It's not Robbie Downey Jr. obviously, but it's not CG.
I don't know. I've always thought it was CG. To be perfectly honest, really,
no, they actually went out and shot it. Yeah, this is actually like they designed these pieces. I don't think it was actual model. Like they designed something that would look like it.
It's all. Well, I'm sure it's it's locked into the car. Yeah. Like yes, I mean obviously,
and I bet you those 4 things are one solid piece.
It's one solid piece then. Okay,
yeah. And they only had to get 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that's the
just 2 angles
thing about this. Some guy had to make. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jeez. Anyway, I will be honest. To me, this has always just rubbed me the wrong way because it's so ridiculous. But it does serve the purpose, as you just said, of how do you get the model out of the? But to be honest with you, I think this is even more absurd.
More ridiculous yet to come.
Well, okay, true, but this is more ridiculous than just having it show up in his workshop at home. Because guess what? I can totally believe that Tony Stark can pay someone to rent a U-Haul and put it in the truck and bring it to the house.
Right. Like of all the plot holes in this is the one they were like, we need to address this.
No, you
need
don't.
To make sure. Do we though?
Anyway, all right.
So then next thing we see is he's in the workshop. So he has reassembled it. Somehow he found a table big enough that it would fit on it, and he put it back together. And so he's looking at it closely, and he says, "Jarvis, would you kindly vacuum form a digital wireframe?" Now, that's an interesting turn of phrase because obviously he's not vacuum forming at all. Vacuum form is a process where you put plastic over something if you're going to make many of them. So like basically you have like I think of it. I've seen it actually done in real life because where I grew up. Plastics is a big deal. So in like Northern Indiana, there's all these little things, and so I've seen them on the caps they put on top of trucks, like the air vent covers and stuff. Right. So they build one, and then they put a sheet of plastic, they warm it up, and they poof over the top of it, and then it goes the outline of that thing, and then they can make a bunch of them from that. So they usually just do that over and over and over again. So that's what vacuum form is.
Well, and it's served a huge purpose. I mean, in industry, you had the whole advent of signage. Back in the 60s and 70s when you had the explosion of like everything from Burger King to McDonald's, those signs, that's all vacuum form created. You're heating the sheet of plastic. And then I think it's kind of neat is I've seen the ones where the molds, after you've heated it, the mold, like the metal mold has all these little air holes and there's vacuum, it's vacuuming the air. So as it brings the plastic over it, that's what sucks it to the mold. Right.
Exactly.
And it's also played a huge role in the model making industry. I mean, I can't tell you how many old rockets and little models I used to play with that I used to make when I was a kid that, you'd get out the sheet of plastic that had like the parts of the aircraft and they were just, you can see exactly how it was done. And then you have to cut them off from the plastic and everything. It's something that we take for granted, but I mean, it's the science and the industry behind it is amazing.
Because the future, Rob, is plastics.
Well, it's now, here's the thing. The term is kind of weirdly used here.
Yeah.
But that is kind of what Jarvis is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of neat, actually. I kind of like it.
Digital overlay. And then, so Cody says, I need a manipulatable projection. So the Jarvis says, 1974 Stark Expo model scan complete, sir. So then Tony then like reaches down and picks up the digital version of the model and like puts it up in the air. So he like stands it up on its end as opposed to sort of looking over the top of it. And so then he's looking at this viewing. And so in the commentary, Jon Favreau talks about how there were multiple studios involved, like multiple things. So we talked about several different special effects houses, and so multiple special effects houses were used. He even couldn't remember all of the ones to try and get this right, because they had obviously shot Robert Downey Jr. standing there with nothing, just gesturing in the air, and so they had to figure out what it is he was doing, and then basically when he flicked something away, they had to make sure to put something unimportant in that place. I mean, it's a weird dance of like having to have the actor had done this thing, and then they have to go back through and like justify why something doesn't belong there. It's fascinating. So he said the multiple companies had to work together to do this, because it looks great.
Oh, it looks fantastic.
10 years later, this is amazing. Like we still have not gotten. I mean, like this is future tech. Like we still have not gotten to this point where you can have a 3D model that responds to your gestures. I mean, like we all remember the Kinect.
Right.
and the promise of the Kinect, and that never really happened. Yeah, that gesture-based control is really not quite there yet.
But it is interesting though to see how much closer we've gotten to this with industrial 3D scanners. Even to the point that they're used in for homes, or you're replacing molding. I've seen this on shows where they can actually scan in crown molding and stuff for older homes, and then they can 3D print the replacement to fill in the part. I mean, we're way farther along in this than anybody would think. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, you can pay to have somebody's dead father resurrected as a hologram and just give it to someone as a gift.
Oh boy.
Timely reference. No one knows what I'm talking about. Let's move on. What's interesting to me about the gesture-based thing is that Douglas Adams made jokes about this, in the Hitchhiker's Guide in the 80s. He said he had someone listening to the radio, and they said that it was a radio you could control with gestures, and people. It used to be big, and the more people kept complaining about how much they had to do to change the station, so they made it so precise that now when you were listening to any music, you had to sit stock still, because if you made any motion at all, it would assume you wanted to change the volume or the station or whatever it was. So when they're just stuck in their chair.
Well, this and there's
a futurist for you, Douglas Adams.
Oh yeah. Okay, and there's nothing really. The only thing we see in the background of this, because it is the workshop, a lot of the cars have been cleared out. We see the Hall of Armor, or at least we've moved around. We see that the Mark II suit is missing, obviously, in the Hall of Armor.
Yep, we got Dummy and you are both there, sort of just cruising around in the background.
And nothing really to note as we see the model of the full Stark Expo. I mean, it is kind of what we've seen from some of the early shots of this in the Howard Stark images. Nothing that I pulled out that was particularly useful or important. Nope. I mean, other than it appears to be the shape of something.
Yes,
that's it.
It appears to be the shape of a World's Fair.
Yeah.
So Tony says, how many buildings are there? And Jarvis says, am I to include the Belgian waffle stands?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jarvis. Man, somebody ought to give that guy a TV show.
Yeah,
so even Tony is not having it, because he's on to discovery mode. He says, that was rhetorical. Just show me. So then he clicks fingers and starts spinning. I don't know why spinning the model helps him, but hey, I guess everybody's got their process.
Okay, so here's a thought on that. As you were saying about how all these different groups worked on this.
Yeah.
I think he just makes that gesture of like a snap, like boom. And I think that came afterwards. I don't think that was intended. Like, I think it was just like, okay, how do we fit? Because, okay, again, like you said, we're fitting in the graphics and stuff to match what Robert Downey Jr. is doing.
Right.
Yeah, because spinning, I mean, all it does is, again, it changes perspective, which we'll talk more about, obviously, as this scene continues.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it may just be to see, is there something I'm missing because I'm looking at it wrong?
Yeah, and then as the model is sort of then, like, lifts up or whatever, that's where the minute comes to an end.
That's it.
So Tony has not made any discoveries. He's just looking at the model and trying to solve the riddle of his heart.
We only have so much more mileage out of that.
Well, he's about to have a major breakthrough, so I mean,
No pun intended. Wow.
oh, well,
Hold that thought.
No.
Hold that thought for the next minute.
That's right.
Or no, 2 minutes. It's
right.
next minute and the minute. Anyway.
That's right. There's a breakthrough coming.
There's
In the meantime, if you want to discuss your own personal breakthroughs, you can do so on Discord. Yes, we have our very own Discord server. If you go to nextdoor.com and scroll down to the big button that says Discord and click on it, you can join our group. We have dedicated channels to all of our shows, including this very one you're listening to right now.
Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us how your day's going.
Yeah.
Tell us what role this show plays in the facets of your life.
Are we your commute to work, or we commute home, because those are two very, very different emotional states you're in? Are we your cleaning around the house thing? Are we a reward, or are we a punishment for you? We would like to know.
Maybe we're your driving tunes as you take an enormously large object that is unsafely able to be carried by the edifice of your car. Wow.
True.
I'm not edifice. Good Lord. Come on.
Or maybe we're just escorting you as you go to get the mail, which, did you get anything good? I hope you did.
Then go down Discord and tell us what's going on.
So the frame manipulation continues as the adventure goes on. We'll see if Tony Stark can come into any shocking revelations of secrets his dad left for him, and then maybe he might even do some remodeling. I don't know.
Spoiler.
We'll see. You never know. Probably not for a while, though. In the meantime, make sure you stay subscribed. You do not want to miss minute 83, because things will happen. That is guaranteed. Enough said.
Bye.